everybody, what is going on? Welcome to Regular Josh 1. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button in this video, and if you're new, subscribe. Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. This movie is bad. Okay, bye! Alright, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging like that. Let's talk about this movie. The Ice Age franchise has certainly been an interesting one. My personal favorite from all of these movies is The Meltdown, which is the second movie. Mainly because I think I started off with this movie to begin with when it came to this franchise. I never really cared all that much for the first movie, admittedly, so I couldn't really get into it as much. I was a kid back then, so I might have to try watching that movie again now. I basically seen most of the movies besides the fifth one in this franchise, Collision Course, because when I saw the promos for it, it just looked so stupid to me. And ratings certainly didn't work in its favor either, plus not many people said good things about the movie at all, so maybe I really dodged a bullet on that one. See, after Continental Drift, I thought that was gonna be the final movie from Ice Age, so when Collision Course was announced, I was shocked. Well, seeing as how the movie was virtually panned by everybody, and it certainly didn't make as much money as any of the other films at the box office, and with Blue Sky Studios being shut down last year, surely this was the end of the franchise, right? I mean, unfortunately it was a bad note to end on, but Ice Age is over, right?
Nope.
Well, I guess if Hollywood still sees it as a potential moneymaker, they'll milk it for all that it's worth. But wait a minute, Blue Sky Studios is dead. Who's still making these movies? Oh, right. Disney, a company that used to have respect. I find it kind of weird that they shut down the studio that made franchises like Ice Age and Rio, and here they are making more movies out of them. And let me tell ya, if Rio 3 is going to be anything like what the newest Ice Age movie was, I'm already scared. So, here enters Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild. In this movie, the two Possum brothers feel like they no longer need to be looked after by Ellie anymore, as she is a little overbearing for them, and they sneak off to find their own destiny. They stumble back into the lost land of the dinosaurs underneath, where they find Buck Wild again. However, Buck is now trying to stop a dinosaur named Orson, who I guess thinks he's smarter than everybody because of his massive brain, that wants to get rid of all mammals and have it be completely overtaken by dinosaurs. As he so cleverly put it, dinos rule, mammals drool. Yep, it's that kind of movie, folks. Now with Crash, Eddie, and his old friend Z tagging along, it's up to them to stop him while Manny, Diego, Sid, and Ellie all trying to find the two little rascals. Okay, so where do I even begin with this? Ice Age Adventures of Buck Wild is not a good movie. It was not enjoyable in the slightest. First of all, the movie is called Adventures with Buck Wild, but he's not even really the main character of this film. It's Crash and Eddie. I don't dislike these two characters, alright? I found them to be pretty funny in the movies that they're in. They are entertaining in The Meltdown, The Dawn of the Dinosaurs, and Continental Drift. But that's the thing. They are comedic relief characters. Because they weren't the main focus of these films, some of their antics are pretty funny and not overbearing. However, turning them into the main characters of the movie made them pretty annoying throughout. With them constantly just being stupid, it got old really fast. Also, weirdly enough, they didn't really add all that much to the story to begin with, once they reached the Lost Land. They're just there now with Buck as he's fighting this annoying, not intimidating villain of the movie. In fact, if you completely got rid of them and only focused on Buck for this story, I think it would have been a little bit of an improvement, but probably not by much. Also with Eddie and Crash, their whole thing in this movie is them wanting to prove that they can take care of themselves. Now, there's no better way of showing us that by basically forgetting about that through 90% of the film and bring it back randomly when they're supposed to have I guess an emotional scene, which there wasn't really much of in this movie. Honestly, the story with them was just so unfocused to me. I couldn't really feel like I could root for them all that much anyway, because again, they didn't really add all that much to the story. Not to mention that there was a scene earlier in the movie where Ellie talks with Manny about why she's overprotective of them, and we go into the backstory of how they all met. Of course, this is a callback to the scene from the Meltdown film where Ellie was a little mammoth and we see her alone in the snow until we see a possum family who eventually takes her in. She tells him how happy she was to be a part of a family, and that even after they lost their mother, she knew that she would always have her brothers and they would always have her. It was very clear that she cared deeply for them and how much they meant to her. It was probably one of the only nicer moments in this film. So, what does Eddie and Crash do? Well, even though one of them was pretending to be asleep so they could sneak off at the right moment, and I'm pretty sure one of them heard every single word she said, they walk up to her while she's asleep, say their goodbyes to her, and then leave. I'm not kidding. And to make things worse, Crash and Eddie maybe only thought about Ellie once when they were in the Lost Land, and it wasn't even because they missed her or anything, it was because they were having their quote-unquote little emotional scene, and it was one of those she was right scenarios. I mean, seriously? I'm supposed to root for these guys? I was more invested in Buck Wild and his partner Z more than those two. At least the story between them was a little bit interesting. In fact, why couldn't the movie be just about them? Eddie and Crash literally did not need to be the main characters in this movie. The whole subplot with our main villain character doesn't really have any stakes in it, mainly because this is our villain. This small, big-headed dinosaur. Come on. Anyone can take him. He's not threatening. Buck Wild could take him out easily, and the threat is over. We could have literally cut this movie in half. Manny, Diego, Sid, and Ellie barely show up in this movie to begin with, so what's the point? Oh, and also, I have to mention this. Where is Peach? Her daughter. Their kid. Where is Peach's supposed husband, which I'm just learning about since I never saw the 5th movie? They are never mentioned once, nor do they show up at all. What the hell? Do they just not exist anymore? I mean, as far as I know, this movie doesn't take place in between any of the other films, so this doesn't make any sense. Also, where is Scrat? Does he not exist either? I mean, come on, the very least this movie could have given us was Scrat. He was the very, very funny part of all of the movies. He would have at least made this movie a little worthwhile sitting through. Or, honestly, maybe not, because I'm not really sure if any of his antics would have worked with the animation that this movie has. Oh my god. Man, are these visuals bad. It looks like one of those animated DreamWorks TV shows like Legends of Awesomeness or Penguins of Madagascar. I get that they were given a lower budget for this film, and it clearly shows. It's honestly kind of embarrassing. Also, considering that the humor in this movie was completely lackluster as well, Scrat's skits would have probably been just as dry. I mean, there's almost practically nothing positive I can really say about this movie. Adventures of Buck Wild is probably the worst movie in this franchise. Again, I haven't seen Collision Course, but I'm sure this is still pretty worse. The animation is bad, the story is boring, the humor is non-existent, and it doesn't really have a reason to exist. If this movie just focused on Buck Wild and maybe we dive more into his backstory, or keep the current plot but just have a villain that actually poses a legitimate threat and keep Crash and Eddie out of this, it probably would have been an okay or a passable movie. This film gives us no reason as to why these two were our main heroes in this story, and I think that kind of annoys me the most. As for my ratings on this movie, I'd say this is either a 2 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10. Yes, it's that bad. If you want to check it out, go ahead, but if you're a big fan of the Ice Age franchise, you might want to leave Adventures of Buck Wild buried in ice. So, have any of you guys seen this movie yet? If so, tell me what you guys thought of the movie down in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and hit the bell to be notified on my next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember, you're hearing it from a regular bunny in a regular world. See you next time.